Committed para el Póker y nos seguís acá en redes sociales, todas ellas como Committed Póker, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord y también canal 526 de Flow. Esta vez las dijimos todas. Cusco, bueno, el placer, porque la verdad que no sé si podemos dar la magnitud de lo que es tener a Jonathan Little en Committed por el Póker, un programa salido acá en Neuquén, Patagonia, Argentina, y tener al crack mundial, no solamente como jugador, sino como bien dijiste, como escritor, que los mejores libros de póker son escritos por él. Eso por lo menos cae en mi cuenta. Y sigue la charla.
Tal cual, tal cual. Aparte, yo no lo había tenido nunca la oportunidad de escucharlo. La claridad con la que tiene de decir las cosas es increíble.
Sí, bueno, y aparte los temas, los conceptos, cómo los aborda. Él, por ejemplo, uno de los libros, que no es este, pero uno de los más antiguos, cómo jugar cada mano, stack, digamos, o sea, con el stack de tantos big blinds, sí. Bueno, 25 a 30 y tanto, de ahí en adelante, pero es una diversidad y una claridad para decirte cómo jugar, y después la tarea es sencilla.
Claro, sí, tal cual. Y bueno, justamente va a hablar de eso, los pros y los contras de develar, entre comillas, secretos, ¿sí? Porque es como que le hacen más fácil el camino a aquellos que recién están empezando o que no han estudiado.
Y eso justamente, como bien decías, tiene puntos a favor y en contra, pero lo amplía Jonathan Little.
Vamos.
How and when did you feel that you had a lot to share and teach to the poker community in general?
So a long time ago, I realized that I got good at poker because people were willing to help me get good at poker. And if I didn't have their help, I would certainly not be where I am today. So once I got good at sit and go tournaments back, I don't even know, 15 years ago.
Oh, you started with that?
I started with sit and goes. Actually, I started with limit hold'em, but moved to sit and goes soon because it became clear limit hold'em was not what you wanted to be playing necessarily. So I moved to sit and goes, and I got to the high stakes sit and go games. I was playing $200 buy-in sit and goes back then, which was basically the highest stakes. And I was posting on various forums, just trying to help out other people who also wanted to get good. And I still had mentors who always helped me. And essentially, once I get really good at a game, and to be fair, I'm only really good at no limit hold'em. I'm not like putting out advice on PLO or deuces 7 triple draw or anything like that because I'm not really good at those, right? But I am very good at no limit hold'em, and that's when I started helping others. And to be fair, like you don't actually even have to be the absolute best in the world to help people. You just have to be able to help them succeed at whatever they're trying to succeed at. Like, for example, I'm not necessarily trying to teach the top 10 poker players in the world how to be good at poker because
of course,
they're not going to learn a whole lot from me, right? Because they already know that. I'm trying to learn from them. But I can certainly help the vast majority of poker players out there, and that's what I tend to do.
That's very, very nice. And who was your biggest influence from poker books? And do you think it could be counterproductive in some terms to share like the secrets, you know?
In terms of most influential books. So it's interesting because I think a long time ago, my first poker coach was a guy named Bill Seymour. He's an older guy now. He's probably 70 or 80 years old now. And he taught me a lot about poker mindset. And now there are these two books, Zen and the Art of Poker and the Tao of Poker. And they don't necessarily have great poker advice in them, but they have great like mindset / life advice for poker players, because I was just a young idiot kid back in the day, and reading these books helped me learn how to not be such a big idiot. So I think those were especially beneficial, and those aren't even like well-known poker books. Those are kind of obscure. And like I said, the poker advice is on random games because the books were written in the 80s or whatever. But just like how to be a professional was very, very influential to me because I didn't know how to be professional. I just knew how to play cards. And so I learned a lot about that kind of stuff from him. And then, is it bad to share the information? It probably does cost me some to share the information. That said, I think I probably play poker better than the vast majority of people I'm teaching. So if they want to come play in my games, they're welcome to come play in my games. But you certainly do give up a little something, but in exchange for that, you help a lot of people. And
of course,
I'm happy to make that trade.
Yeah, I'm asking that because when I started with this, I had a lot of criticism from the other pros to why are you going to share everything? We're losing EV and everything. But well, I think someone helped us before to get here, right? And also a person who is, I don't know, who wants to spend like $100, $200 an hour to learn something, if it doesn't get from me, it's going to go other way. So
it's true. And also, if you
share,
think
I don't know.
Well, so if you think about it like this, let's say you're already playing high stakes games, right? At this point, once you're playing high stakes games, you're pretty good at poker. And in reality, you're probably not going to make it very easy for someone to learn to also beat the high stakes games. That takes a lot of practice, a lot of effort, and a lot of experience, right? So if you teach someone who's playing small stakes games to beat the medium stakes games, that doesn't really impact you in the high stakes at all. So yeah, you're kind of hurting the medium stakes players. It's very true. And I get emails every day from people mad at me because I made their medium stakes cash game tougher. But like, I don't really care because that I'm not playing in those games anyway. But then say those people do beat the medium stakes games and then they move up to the high stakes games. They're probably not going to be big winners or even a winner at all in the high stakes game. And if they want to come play with me and all the other good high stakes players, I mean, they're probably going to lose. So if anything, I'm making the medium stakes and small stakes tougher, but the highest stakes softer, because you're people are coming in who have like minus 10% ROI or minus 20% ROI, and that's good for me too. So it ends up working out okay for me, but it definitely does not work out for the medium stakes and the small stakes players because they're going to have to up their game. And this happens in all games that are like mental games and even, physical games to some extent. The games get tougher over time. And if you are not always improving, you're going to get left behind. And like you said, if it's not you teaching them, it's going to be somebody else. And,
if they want to learn, they're going to learn, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's different like back in the day when there was literally no information. Like I remember Doyle Brunson saying he got a bunch of like hate letters because he wrote Super System a long time ago. And
yeah, I read that.
But like back then there was almost nothing available on how to get good at poker. But now there's a lot of information out there. To some extent, the coach's job is to consolidate the information and give the student exactly what they need to be able to succeed at the fastest rate they can.
Yeah, I guess that the coach job, is like put all the good information together and like accelerate that process from learning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not the most gifted or talented poker player out there, but I'm good at consolidating information and good at learning and good at turning around and sharing that with others. So it works out well for me because like when I first started playing, I was bad. I was just like weak and tight and nitty, and I only wanted to put my money in with the nuts. And I realized that's not how you win, right? And I had to study and I learned and I got better. And even today, like there'll be some plays that feel really bad. Like I'll be playing online and I'll be recording my play. I'm like, oh, this bluff is never going to work. But I know it's a good bluff and I'm playing against a good player. So I need to be kind of GTO and then I'll make the bluff and it'll work. I'm like, oh my God, it's a miracle. But it feels dirty, but I still do it, right? Because I know it's the right play. I've studied a lot. And I know that it's the right play. I have the discipline to make that play.
I remember the first books I read were the 3 Harrington and Holden books. So it was really, really tight, but it was effective at that time,
Yeah. So the Harrington books back in the day were great at teaching you to beat the players who were also like kind of weak, tight, and straightforward.
Yeah, of course.
And I kind of designed my first book back then to beat the Harrington type player because everybody read Harrington on Hold'em. They learned how to play tight, aggressive poker. So how do you beat people who are a little bit tight, a little bit like not out of line? Well, you just bluff them a lot. So my first book was overly aggressive to some extent. Like it says continuation about 100% of the time because they fold too often. And to be fair, back then they did fold too often.
Yeah, of course.
And as people have gotten better, you have to learn how to play better, of course. And, you can't continuation about 100% against everybody anymore. But it was certain, if you find these players who are a little bit too straightforward, who aren't going to check raise you often enough or whatnot, it's a really good strategy. Just bet every time. I mean, to be fair, in this book, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games, John Van Fleet's chapters on continuation betting. One of his chapters is on continuation betting, and he says that against most people, if you just bet small and frequently, you're going to make way more money than if you try to use the GTO strategy.
Why do you think poker, especially No Limit Hold'em, changed that much from what it used to be like 10 years ago?
If you take any game and you put a lot of incentives to get good at that game, what happens is a lot of brain power and thought process gets put toward that exact game. So No Limit Hold'em is by far the biggest game that is played. It got a lot of TV coverage back in the day, right? In the 2003, 2004, 2005 era. And that attracted a lot of very smart people to try to learn to beat the game because there was a big incentive to beat the game, right? If you beat the game, you get paid money. And that's how a lot of things happen. Anytime there's a big problem and there's a real reason to try to solve the problem, in this case, the problem is get good at No Limit Hold'em so you can beat the bad players, people will devote their lives to it because, it becomes their livelihood. And So that's why No Limit Hold'em has gotten tougher, but also like computing power has gotten better, right? Like you have all this software that helps you learn to play the game better. I mean, today there's this program called Munker Solver that takes basically a supercomputer to run, and it takes hundreds of dollars to run one big full simulation. But like, I'm happy to do it because that's my job as a coach, is to get you the most cutting edge material.
Are you working with Munker Solver right now?
Yeah, so I have people on my team who work with it. I don't personally work with it because it's tedious and takes a lot of effort. I have a guy, Michael Acevedo, who wrote Modern Poker Theory.
Yeah, I know him.
He actually streams in Spanish, so check out his stream. It's twitch.tv/GTO_poker.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to search for it.
Yes, I mean, he's good. I mean, he streamed the other day, won 86,000 in a scoop event.
Yeah, I read his last book,
Yeah, Modern Poker Theory was great. I actually helped edit that because, he speaks Spanish natively, so he turned in the book. The English was kind of rough, but I helped clean it up. My role at the publishing company, D&B Poker, is to find good content. And they're like, we need a game theory book. I'm like, oh, I know our guy, Michael Acevedo. And so I was happy to be able to help make that book happen.
Wow, that's so good. I think
that's a good example, though, of someone who, like, they can help me solve a problem. They want to help other people get better. And, he helps me with various solver issues, and I help him publish his book. And now he's a coach for my site, pokercoaching.com. He has a lot of content there on GTO strategies. And so it's good stuff.